In the desolate remains of America, most everyone's memory will fade into dust. In a land that has already swallowed so many, it's easy for even those who had a monumental impact on the wasteland to fall into obscurity. Only the memory of a lucky few have managed to survive the tribulations of time, and even fewer have passed beyond the realm of spoken legends and into the written word. The Vault Dweller is one of these few.
The new leaders of the tribe, they refuse to call themselves elders until I've passed on, which should be soon if I'm lucky. I want me to record my knowledge for future generations. What knowledge they need is to be found with sweat and blood, not some letters on a page. Well, the future is a great unknown. And they may have a point.
In his waning years, the man now known as the Vault Dweller, surrounded by the tribe he founded, would write a first-hand account of his trials in the wasteland. This text, the Vault Dweller's Memoirs, serves as the wasteland's primary source on the Vault Dweller's achievements.
Like all the original members of the tribe, I came from the vaults. Before the war, the government of the United States, which numbered in the thousands of villages, had many tribesmen per village. They paid to have these huge holes dug in the mountains, huts of metal and stone built underground. There were many vaults. Some were close to cities and some far away. These vaults were to be used as safe places in case of atomic war. And as you may guess, when the war came, your ancestors made it to a vault. Vault 13 to be specific. For several generations, your ancestors and mine lived within the vault. As best as they could figure, it was too dangerous to try and leave the vault. They grew their own food, recycled their waste, read, worked, slept, had families, even purified the necessary water within the vault. I was born in the creche, was raised by the community, and a robot. It was a good life, but all good things come to an end.
While officially only built to last 10 years, Vault 13 was secretly part of a larger experiment put in place by the US government and the Vault's creators, Vault-Tec. In reality, Vault 13 was to remain sealed indefinitely until its population of unirradiated humans would be needed for a higher purpose. For over 80 years, the Vault would remain isolated from the outside, with the dwellers living in a perfect microcosm of pre-war America. Until tragedy struck.
The controller chip for our water purification system has given up the ghost. Can't make another one, and the process is too complicated for a workaround system. Simply put, we're running out of drinking water. No water, no vault.
Vault 13 was supposed to have a supply of replacement chips in case of a scenario just like this. But a shipping error before the war meant Vault 8 ended up receiving hundreds of extra chips they would never use, while Vault 13 got what was supposed to be Vault 8's second Garden of Eden creation kit, a miracle of pre-war engineering made into nothing more than a trinket in a vault meant to stay closed for hundreds of years. After sending 2 other volunteers, one of whom didn't even make it past the vault door, the Overseer finally resorted to assigning the responsibility of finding the new water chip.
The Overseer gathered the healthy of us between a certain age and made us draw straws. Guess what? I drew the short one. Wouldn't be much of a story if I didn't, would it? I left the vault the next day.
On December 5th, 2161, Vault 13's final hope left their home and entered the sunlight for the first time.
My first few days were harrowing to say the least. Fought off some giant mutant rats that were more interested in eating me than they should have been. My only clue was the location of another vault, number 15. I spent a couple of days stumbling through the desert before I came upon a small settlement. I stopped there for help and encountered a little town called Shady Sands. I helped them and they helped me. I understand that survival requires you to work together, even with people you may not trust. I did earn the trust, however, of 2 prominent citizens of Shady Sands. Tandy, and a father, Aradesh.
Shady Sands was one of several communities formed from the former residents of Vault 15. While Shady Sands was surviving, it was far from thriving. Harrowed by rat scorpions and raiders, without the leadership of Aradesh, the village would have surely already collapsed. With the arrival of the dweller from Vault 13, however, things began to change. Aiding the village doctor Razlo, the Vault Dweller would destroy the nearby rad scorpion colony, using their tails to develop an antivenom. When Tandy was kidnapped by the Khans, another group of Vault 15 survivors who became bandits, the Vault Dweller, along with a former caravan guard named Ian, rescued her, nearly destroying the raider gang in the process.
I continued on my way to Vault 15. The ruins of Vault 15, to be more specific. Ravaged by the elements, scavengers, and time itself, Vault 15 was no help for my people. The control room that contained their water chip was buried under tons of fallen rock, and I had to move on. I found myself in Junktown. It was here that I learned the most important rule of all. Doing a good thing sometimes requires you to be a very bad person.
Junktown was exactly that. A town built from discarded sheet metal, old shipping containers, and abandoned cars. In 2161, Junktown was run by Killian Darkwater, grandson of the original founder of the community. A fair, honest, but tough leader, Killian wasn't afraid of making deals with small-time gangs in order to keep the peace in the community. Conflict would arise in what had previously been a mostly quiet post-war community, however, when Killian began butting heads with Gizmo, a shady businessman who ran his operation out of his casino. Gizmo was not afraid of making his goals public. He planned on deposing Killian as the leader of Junktown and enforcing his own authority over the town, hoping to turn it into an economic powerhouse in the wasteland. Not shy about attempting to achieve his goals, Gizmo would send multiple assassins to make attempts on Killian's life, though they would all fail to remove Darkwater from his position. Tired of Gizmo's constant power plays, Killian would hire the Vault Dweller and Ian to acquire hard evidence of Gizmo's schemes, giving the Junktown police the authority to come down on Gizmo. In return, Gizmo would hire the Vault Dweller to assassinate Killian. Who the Vault Dweller's loyalties laid with is ultimately unknown.
My memories of Junktown are tainted, and I feel no remorse for my actions in that place. It was there that I came across a dog. Who adopted me was my faithful friend from there on. I miss dog meat to this day.
The Vault Dweller's time in Junktown did see him make two undeniable allies. Tycho, a member of the survivalist group known as the Desert Rangers, and Dogmeat, a canine left homeless after his former owner was killed by gangsters.
While Junktown was a city of traders and traitors, it did not have a water chip. I was not desperate yet, as there was still time for me to recover the chip and return to my home, but I needed to move on. Fortunately, they pointed me in the direction of the Hub, the largest city in the wasteland. The Hub was a larger city than both Junktown and Shady Sands combined. You could drop the vault in there and you probably wouldn't even notice. But the people of the Hub had no life. It's a desolate place just the same.
Even before the NCR, the Hub served as New California's foremost center of commerce. Full of traders, the criminals who tried to rob them, and everyone in between. Here, the Dweller's party was able to hire a caravan to bring water to Vault 13, delaying their inevitable doom.
Looking back, it was probably a mistake to do so. But you have to understand, I was still innocent of the evils that lurked through the ruins of civilization.
Nothing in the Hub came free, especially not information. With none of the trading companies having a water chip for sale, the Vault Dweller's party turned to working in exchange for leads. After helping expose a merchant selling human meat, the soon-to-be legend would find himself in the employ of the Fargo traders. Caravans had been going missing, and Fargo's owner, Butch Harris, hired the Dweller to investigate. Rumors surrounded the caravans. saying they had been destroyed by a demon born out of radioactive fire. It was only after speaking to Harold, a mutant living in the hub slums, that the existence of these Deathclaws was confirmed as more than legend. Traveling into the Deathclaw's lair, the Dweller's party found a cave full of bones and, protecting its kills, the Deathclaw. After an egregious battle, the Deathclaw was felled, but no sign of the caravans was in the cave. The only other living thing was a large, green mutant on the brink of death. As life left his body, deliriously speaking of primes and a master, the mutant handed the Vault Dweller a holodisc, revealing that the caravan had been kidnapped. To where and for what purpose, it didn't say.
A small clue led me to the city of the ghouls, the place they called Necropolis.
What was once Bakersfield was now a city of ghouls, the result of the city's vault, Vault 12, never being fully sealed, flooding the citizens with radiation. Led to the city by a pamphlet listing the local vaults, the party traveled to the necropolis. For years, the city had been ruled by a ghoul named Set, but recently, a group of mutants had moved into the city's watershed, effectively, sometimes literally, holding the city hostage. These mutants had the same mutations as the one encountered in the Deathclaw's nest. At the behest of the ghouls, the Vault Dweller attacked the mutants, attempting to liberate the city. After a hard-fought battle, the mutants were defeated. The fight wasn't without cost, however, as Ian, the Dweller's oldest ally, fell in battle, killed by a flamer wielded by one of these super mutants.
His sacrifice was not in vain, as I did find the water chip buried beneath the city.
Vault 12, buried underneath the city, did have a functional water chip. Not wishing to leave the ghouls without a steady source of water, the Dweller was able to repair the city's water pump, now that it was no longer protected by the mutants.
It was with easier steps that I returned to Vault 13. While the Overseer was obviously happy to see me return to the vault, alive and with the necessary water chip, he was distraught at my description of the super mutants.
The mutant population is far greater than could be expected by natural growth or mutations. This leads me to believe, and I don't really understand it, but it looks like someone's generating new mutants, and at a startling rate.
It is here that I realized the mistake I had made with the water merchants. I had pointed them and others in the direction of our home. Without the protection of anonymity, the vault could have easily been destroyed. The knowledge of the fate of Vault 15 did not help. The Overseer tasked me with a new mission: find and destroy the danger of the super mutants. Once again, I left the vault. This time, it was easier on my heart. Looking back now, I realize it was also the first time I should have seen the true hearts of the other Vault Dwellers. And the Overseer. I returned to the hub, looking for clues.
As with any bustling city of the old world, the hub had a thriving underworld. While previously, the hub police had turned a blind eye to the workings of the criminal enterprise known as the Underground, the new sheriff, Justin Green, wouldn't allow for this corruption to continue. Recruiting the Vault Dweller, Green and his deputies attacked the Maltese Falcon, the Underground's headquarters, killing their leader, Decker. In the process of destroying the Underground's presence, the Dweller rescued a man named Jonathan, a member of a group called the Brotherhood of Steel.
It was in my best interest to leave town for a while. I journeyed to this Brotherhood.
In the days of the Vault Dweller, the Brotherhood of Steel was still an extremely isolationist order, only trading with others for the sake of survival and not interested in expansion. Traveling to the Brotherhood's home of Lost Hills, the Dweller attempted to join the order, hoping the technologically advanced Brotherhood would have information on the super mutants. Before he was allowed into the bunker, he was given an extremely dangerous quest.
You have to go to the ruins of the Ancient Order that's south of here. You've got to go inside and bring back something that proves that you were there.
Thinking it would be a short and easy quest, I agreed and set off for the place they called the Glow. The horror of atomic war was never so obvious to me until then.
What was now the Glow was once a research facility for Westtech, a pre-war military contractor. After doubling up on Rad-X, the Dweller delved into the radioactive pit that the lab had now become. In the ruins, the Dweller discovered an ill-fated Brotherhood expedition to the facility, providing the proof that he had come to claim. But, as the party journeyed deeper into the lab, they discovered a curious computer. A Zax supercomputer, to be exact. Zax was part of the lab's pre-war research into a possible vaccine to a disease that plagued pre-war America. As research on this vaccine continued, however, the scientists discovered another use for the chemical they had created, as a mutagen. Hoping to use this forced evolutionary virus to create super soldiers, the research was moved from the Westtech facility to the Mariposa military base in the north. With the proof of his journey to the Glow, the Dweller returned to the Brotherhood.
The Brotherhood was surprised to see me, and even more surprised to see that I not only survived their quest, but succeeded.
Now an initiate of the Order, the Vault Dweller was given access to the Brotherhood's vast armory, including the pinnacle of pre-war engineering, the T-51B powered combat infantry armor. The Brotherhood was also able to provide a bevy of information to aid the Dweller's righteous quest.
When we heard about the missing caravans, we sent out a few scouts east and north. The ones that went north never returned.
There are rumors of a strange army gathering. I will not say more.
All the mutants I've studied have been sterile. They can't breed with another creature.
Now equipped with both knowledge and technology, the Dweller's party set out again to search for the source of the mutants.
On my way, I took a detour and stopped by Necropolis in order to see some old friends. Unfortunately, that place was now truly the city of the dead. All the ghouls had been slaughtered. Large mutants roamed the streets. I found one survivor who told me that the mutants had attacked shortly after I had left. Before he died, the ghoul told me that the mutants were looking for pure strain humans, and one in particular. The ghoul's description of the mutant special target fit me perfectly.
The only group that hadn't been destroyed was a mission from a cult called the Children of the Cathedral. Suspicious, the Dweller set out to discover what connection these cultists had to the mutants.
It was with a heavy heart and a cold burning on my soul that I continued on to the Boneyard. The city of Los Angeles must have been the largest in the world before the war. The LA Boneyard stretched forever, the skeletons of buildings lying under the hot sun. Not even the wind entered this dead city.
Within the Angels' Boneyard, a group known as the Followers of the Apocalypse had also grown suspicious of the Children of the Cathedral, planting a spy in their ranks. With the help of the Followers and a woman named Katja, the Vault Dweller infiltrated the eponymous cathedral, discovering that the children were merely a cover to find people to turn into mutants. Even more concerning, underneath the cathedral was a vault.
Within the dark and forbidding vault, where the walls dripped with human flesh and the screams of the dying echoed through the halls, I found many evil creatures and mutants. Walking among the misshapen ones, I killed one of their servants and took his clothing. Hidden from casual searches, I made my way to the bottom of the vault. The deeper into the vault I went, the more gruesome the journey. More and more flesh was to be found, integrated into the very walls. The worst part of it was the flesh was still alive, and even aware of my presence. After a while, I found myself in the presence of the most hideous sight yet.
So what shall it be? Do you join the Unity, or do you die here?
Join.
Die!
Join.
Die!
Once a man of science, the master of the super mutants had been transformed into a mere blob of flesh, deluded into believing that if everyone were like him, there would be no more conflict in the wasteland.
I still cannot bring myself to write of this discovery, but let it be known that when I left, the beast was dead and the master of the mutant army was no more. My job was not finished, for I had one task remaining.
At the Mariposa military base, where all the FEV research had been transferred from West Tech, the Master had created a massive operation, transforming humans one at a time into mutants by dipping them into massive vats of the mutagen.
I had to find these vats and put them out of action as well, lest another take the Master's place and continue to build the mutant army. Fortunately, my friends at the Brotherhood had a few clues and helped me reach my goal. Invading the vats, I came across more mutants and robots. None could stand in my way. I had a mission, I had a goal, I had a really large gun. It was here that Dogmeat fell, a victim of a powerful energy force field. I missed that dog. I destroyed the vats that day, and with it, the mutant army.
The death of the Master was the first step towards ending his mad dream of conquest
and enforced peace. But it is the destruction of the vats that neutralizes the mutant threat. Without the ability to create more mutants and enforce their harsh brand of justice, the mutant armies flee to the east, beyond the no man's land. The mutant attack on Necropolis spares none of its ghoulish inhabitants. After the mutant armies advance, they leave a truly dead city behind them. The followers of the apocalypse rise to become a major influence in New California. With your help, they gain control of the LA Boneyard. In Shady Sands, Tandy helps her father Aradesh bring a new community and new life out of the broken remains of the world. They are responsible for the New California Republic, whose ideals spread across the land. The Brotherhood of Steel helps the other human outposts drive the mutant armies away with minimal loss of life on both sides of the conflict. The advanced technology of the Brotherhood is slowly reintroduced into New California with little disruption or chaos. The Brotherhood wisely remains out of the power structure and becomes a major research and development house. With your assistance, Old Harold brings the ghoul population of the hub into equality with the humans. The two sides work together and the hub prospers. Old Harold is still alive, as far as anyone knows. Thanks to your persistence, the Raiders are destroyed as an effective fighting force and disband. Your involvement with the various places and people of the wasteland is well documented by future historians. Only a single question
remained. What happened to the Vault Dweller?
You've done it. That's wonderful, amazing. I'm so proud of what you've accomplished, what you've endured. There's no way the people of the Vault can ever thank you enough for what you've done. You've saved all our lives. Who knows? Maybe even saved the human race. Yes. That makes the rest of this even harder. Everyone will want to talk to you. Every youngster will look up to you and want to emulate you. And then what? They'll want to leave. What happens to the Vault if we lose the best of a generation? What if we are the only safe place in the world? You just gave us back all these lives. I can't take the chance of losing them. I've made a lot of tough decisions since I took this position, but none of them harder than this one. You saved us, but you'll kill us. I'm sorry. You're a hero, and you have to leave.
Bastard. And so, I left. The days and weeks that followed were hard on me. I had met few true friends outside the Vault, and they had died following me. And now, my family had kicked me out and said that I could never return. I screamed. I cried. Slowly, I came to realize that the Overseer may have been correct. I had changed. Life outside the Vault was different, and now I, too, was different. But I've never forgiven him for doing what he did to me. I wandered the desert, but never moved far from the mountains that shielded the Vault from the rest of the world. Perhaps I wanted to return, force my way in, plead for them to take me back. Fortunately, it did not come to that. I found a few wretched souls, a small group of vault dwellers who, upon hearing of what happened to me, had decided to leave the vault and join my side. They knew little of the outside world, and would have died if it were not for my assistance. Together our little group moved north, away from the vault, and away from that old life. Slowly I taught them what experience had taught me, and together we learned to thrive. Over time, our ragtag group turned into a tribe. I fell in love with one of them, and we raised a family, like all of our tribe's people. We founded the village, beyond the Great Cliff. It is a secure home thanks to our hard work. We would send scouts back towards the vault to help others who thought like ourselves, but that slowly came to an end. We no longer head in that direction. I often wonder what became of Vault 13, and the other vaults, but I never had the time to go exploring again. I taught the others the skills they would need to survive and grow strong. Hunting, farming, and other skills to feed us, engineering and science to build our homes, fighting to protect what was ours. My love and I led the village and the tribe. The tribe grew and grew strong with our help, but all things come to an end. Our sons and daughters are now the leaders. I'm sure that the tribe will continue to grow strong under the leadership of our children. My love perished years ago, and not a day goes by that I do not think of Pat's face. I see it every time I look at our children. This journal is to our legacy to them, to their children, and to the rest of the tribe.
After writing his memoirs, the man once known as the Vault Dweller vanished into the wind. Leaving his Vault 13 suit behind, he once again took to wandering. Stories say he traveled east, making it as far as Texas, but those are just stories.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Bastard. Easy Pete. Bastard.